A lot of sewists wonder if they should dip their toes into the world of pattern making, but is it really a good idea? At this point, I only ever make my own patterns. I don't use commercial patterns anymore, but that may or may not be right for you. So in this video, I will give you a quick rundown of the advantages and disadvantages of making your own patterns, and also a brief explanation of how I make mine. To keep it brief, the main advantages of making your own patterns are: 1. You get complete creative control over the design. And 2, once you have a pattern block that fits you, you can use it to make a whole range of new styles instead of having to buy a new pattern for every single garment that you want to make. The main disadvantages are that it tends to require extra work, although I have found that by the time I make all the adjustments for the design and the fit that I want to make for a commercial pattern, it ends up not being that much more work actually. And second of all, a lot of people find pattern making to be very tedious and draining, and they would just prefer to get right to the sewing. In terms of making my own patterns, here's how I do it. So I start with a block. A block is a basic pattern piece like a bodice, pants block, sleeve block, etc. that fits to your measurements and doesn't have seam allowance. So instead of making a new pattern from scratch every time I want to make something, I just manipulate my blocks, which I know fit me, to create my new designs. If you want your own blocks, you have a few options. You can make blocks yourself using a pattern making textbook and following the instructions, which is what I do. I have this one by Helen Joseph Armstrong, which is a common book that a lot of people use. And then once you've developed your block, you mock it up in muslin and fit it on yourself, or ideally have somebody help you to fit it. And then you make adjustments to your block based on your fitting. I am going to make a video at some point about making your own blocks, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that. You could also pay a pattern maker to make a block for you, which I think could be a good option because then you know that it's done well by someone who knows what they're doing. And a lot of people, myself included, find block making to be quite tedious, so then someone is doing that work for you. Another option would be to buy blocks online. I have not personally tried this, but I know there is a service called Pattern Lab London where essentially you input your measurements and then you can download a custom block. So that's something you could try. Once you have a block that fits you, the options are basically limitless. You can use pattern making books or online tutorials to learn how to create your new designs, and I really love how this gives me complete creative control of my design from start to finish. That said, if you don't want to worry about the pattern making and you just want to get straight to sewing, no worries, I totally get it. That's what sewing patterns are for, and they work just fine. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you like making your own patterns or if you prefer to use commercial sewing patterns, and I'll see you in the next video.